Okay, let me share you guys my screen first. Okay, can you guys see my screen, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's create a new widget today. Right, so so for this one, right, there are more files that we need to create manually. So it's not showing up. It's not showing here. Let me please give me some time to figure this one out. Because
Okay.
last time one
Or
because what last time when we add
we
like this, right?
can use maybe another name.
Yeah, maybe because of the naming. Okay, so we got this one. So we got the controller and then the models and you. Okay. So for this one, we have to add our designer file. So there's a naming convention that we need to follow, and it is designer view dot and then your widget name and then CSHTML. This one. Okay, so let's remove this. So far, right, in the controller, we added one field, right? One text field. So let's create one simple text file. Mm, So actually, these are just HTML, right? Your titles and things like that. And then from here, right? These are AngularJS syntax. So this is used by AngularJS. So the custom designer view itself, right, is using AngularJS as its front-end framework. So we also use some of the Angular specific syntax here. So here, right, maybe we say, let's say, so this is a simple text field. So we bind the property from here to the widget designer like this. So let's try this one first. Here, right, we got, so it's showing up here. Mm. So this is the very, very simple step on how you create your own widget designer view, the widget with the widget designer view. You can just create your own designer file here, right? And then you bind the message, the property from the controller here. Right, so let's see another field types. Mm, HTML field. So the syntax is different, right? The tag is not input anymore. It is SF HTML field. So these fields are specific to Sitefinity, right? And then for the binding, right, we still use, here it is ng model, so here it should be SF model. So right, description, so let's see. So for this one, right, it is a little bit more complicated as we started using more complicated fields. So today, right, at any time, if you guys have like any questions or anything not clear, right, just let me know. Hmm. So here, right, this one is the HTML field. So you got all the HTML options, things like that. And then you can also view, right? So from here, It's still not showing here. Because we need to add the value to the model property. So at any time, right, if you want to revert back to the UI, right, that you used previously, I mean, from the other day, right, then you can just change the name or just remove it or remove this file, and then it will go back to the latest method. Okay, let me show you guys. Over here, right? I got. So for the HTML3, right, we have to use in the view most of the time, right? Something like this to render the HTML text. So because this is from the HTML field. Okay, so far this is quite straightforward and easy, right? So let's try a checkbox. So like last time, right? We bind the value from here to here. So this name has to be the same name. Otherwise, it will not work. And then we can so we've got the checkbox here, right? Can you guys still hear me? Because it's a little bit noisy here today.
Yeah, can.
Oh, okay. Uh, okay, so here, right, for the descriptions, you can add a small description as well, and also label here. So this is your small description and then the label. So this one, right? Check. I'll take the. So you got the checkbox value here. Let's see if we check this one, it turns to true, right? Okay. So let's continue on to a little bit more complex one. So for this one, right, even if you want to show a drop-down values, right? Drop-down values, you need two properties. So this one has all the values that you selected from the widget designer. And then these ones, right? They will populate the widget designer. And we also need uh, additional files as well. So uh, any of you guys familiar with the AngularJS framework or have done anything front-end framework?
No, I don't have.
Oh, so the Angular framework is also new to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then maybe I'll just go through and explain a little bit. But I believe you guys, well, so later on, right, I will share you guys the documentation for this whole thing so you guys can check it out slowly later on. Right? So for this one, right, AngularJS, so we have the scripts, the JS files. So in the scripts folder, right, in the MVC scripts folder, script folders, you need to create a new folder. And also there's a naming convention that you need to follow very, very tightly. Yeah, we've got this one, and then create a JS file. And then the naming is a liner view dash your widget name, JS. All right. So the basic structure, right? You can just copy and paste it. All right. So these files, right? So what Sitefinity did is Sitefinity look for the JS files from MVC inside MVC scripts and then your widget name, right? And this naming convention. And if it doesn't find the JS file, right, it automatically generates for you. So we don't need to worry about all the bindings and things like that. But it is only true for some of the very basic fields like checkbox and things like that. For more complex fields, we need to manually bind the values, right? So here, first thing we need to change the name of the controller, right? And then, so this drop down value, right? Okay. Let us add this one first. So this one, right? You see, drop down value, right? So this is this one. So I believe these syntax, right? I think they will be like very new to you guys because these are pure Angular JS one, right? So what this does is from this value, right? The option values, it auto populate all these values. So what we do is, so here, right? It's just a string property, and then we serialize it, right? All these string, this is a string array, right? And then we serialize and convert it to JSON, right? So this value from the JS file, right? So this is all the properties from here, right? And then you assign into this variable. So this is AngularJS variable, right? This is from controller. So you assign the values from the controller into the AngularJS object. So in the widget designer here, right, you use the value from the AngularJS object. So this is AngularJS object to populate that dropdown, right? So this
Johnny,
is used.
can I add something?
Yeah,
Ah,
sure.
for the checkbox are we need
Mm,
to what's it to get to get the value same like the drop down?
mm. No, no, no. We don't need to do any extra custom JS code. So for checkbox, it is bind automatically for us, right?
Okay.
It automatically binds for us. So we just need to make sure that this property here, right? The model, this property here, it's the same name as the property name here. And then we assign this value to the view property. So we can use from the view, right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay. So for this one, right? Okay, let's run it. I think it will be better if we encounter some errors. So I can show you guys like why this happens and how to fix that. Okay, let me show you guys this one first. I mean, compared to the first method, right? This is quite complicated. You have, and you also need to know JavaScript, especially AngularJS framework. Right? All right. Right. For checkbox, right? So it's false. It's true. Right. And then for this one, we can. Okay, let me show you guys. So this option here, right? Right, option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Comes from here, right?
Yeah, yeah. I get.
Okay, then we populate something. So this is a little bit different. So this property is used to populate the dropdown, and this property is used to store the selected value. Okay. So it's showing option 2, right? So if you select 4, option 4. So, 5. Because this is for the drop down, right? We do it something like this. So let me show you, right? What happens if we change the name or delete this file, right? See? So it changes to what we have the other day, right? And then we can change this again. So we have the widget designer now. And another important thing to note, right, is let's say we remove these. So the HTML editor is gone, right? So we need to add these. So you put the custom Sitefinity fields and things like that. So if you use these custom ones, right? And then we use the custom JavaScript file, then we need to manually push all the required classes. Because previously we don't use the custom GS file, right? We just use the default. So that Sitefinity generated the default one for us. So we don't need to specifically specify this one. So there's a lot more complex and a lot of like predefined values that you need to be aware of. Okay. So far, do you guys have any question?
Yeah. Uh,
Mm.
are we possible to, what's that, to change like CSS from the widget?
Yeah, sure. This is only
Like for the
for this
example,
one,
like
right?
for example, like i- we use checkbox to like hide or showing image like that. Is it
Yeah,
possible?
sure. Yes, correct. So let's say, right, you've got, let's say, a div, right? So you can check like right? Right. So you can do it like this. So let me show you on the front end. I mean, something like this, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's what
Right,
I'm. Yeah.
right. So if we check this one shows up, and then and check this, it's it's hidden. So for example, right, if you want to apply, so let's say if you want to add a CSS class, right? So let's say this is CSS class name, right? And then you add like CSS class like red button or something like this, right?
Yeah.
And then here, right, you can just use something like this, right? And then whatever you type in here, right, it will show inside the class, right? So the thing is, as long as we get the values, right, from the widget, so these fields, right, these fields values, right, we can get it correctly on the front end, right? We can use whatever HTML as we want, right?
Okay.
Hmm. So do you guys have any other questions?
Uh, then so we can add the CSS to maybe like CSS files, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
correct, correct.
import the maybe the text value from the widget to CSS file.
Yeah, we need to define the CSS files. I mean, it should be done already, right? Because the front end stuff, the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, everything, right? It will be done already. So let me show you. I think. Okay, maybe let me show you guys my previous projects. So something like this. So all these, right? So these HTML, right? They will come from the HTML file, right? The front end developer sliced it, right? So for these properties, right? See, these are from the widget designer, right? So we can just use it like this. Yeah. Like this. Right. So this is the real life project when the HTML is complete, right? We can use like this. So for this one, right, I'll just use a simple HTML to only show you the backend integration stuff, like how you create your own fields, right? And then your own controllers and things like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So should be fine, right? Okay. Can you guys give me like five minutes for restroom?
Oh, yeah. Sure, sure. Halo Mas, iki sampai jam piro?
Sampai jam 12, Mas.
Oh, sampai jam. Oh, terus
Mm,
kita nanti datanya jam berapa?
Oh enggak usah wis. Oh, enggak usah Mas Fasa gak ono kok, gak wis. Mas Fasa kan anu jare mana laptopnya gak kena kan.
Oh iya dah.
Loh, iya jarene
Ya,
Mas iku.
kata layarnya mati Mas, mau betulin bentar hari ini.
Iya kayaknya tadi
Wah,
mau ke
hitam
Surabaya.
atau putih Mas?
Nggak mati
Apa?
aja, hitam-hitam mati.
Oh, tak pikir lek putih aku nak koncone Mas.
Ada apa jadi? Gak layar enggak iki ate nang Surabaya rek mau. Mas, boleh ke rumah Mas? Oh, boleh. Tak share lah ke aku. Paling dandan nang Surabaya bareng ada. Tapi mau jam piro tekan.
Aku lek kate nang Surabaya waduh Mas.
Iya iki mau Mas Faza ngomong iya waten sampean. Arep nang Surabaya. Kan nek servis-servis nek Lenovo anak guru ngerti gini kan. Mbok laptopnya Mas Faza
Lah iya
ono.
sampai saiki urung mari ya Mas laptopku.
Sebenarnya gore ini ya, ini kiaman paket no tak kita anu nang tapi nang resmi ya, tapi nang resmi kan garansi kan.
Oh, wis ilang Mas garansinya Mas.
Nah ya men paket no kok apa mrene. Engko temen kirim nang aku engko tak bawa nih.
Paling entuk sebulan gitu.
Lah ngene kon ning jaman paket no engko tak gawane rene tak paket apa tak servisi nang kono. Kan mesti ditakoni entek piro estimasinya kan ngono biasa. Oh sampean paket no ae laptope sampean engko.
Apa yang delok iki wis dijanjeni ini Mario sih tapi. Delok iki kok Mario pokoke.
Oh di paling ngono soalnya nang biasanya nang digelokno kan Ibalan biasanya. Biasanya. Nek
Iya.
servisan lho Mas.
Gak paham aku servisan laptop Mas.
Nek servisan go koyo omah-omahan biasanya golekno kan Ibalan biasanya. Ngenteni opo, ngenteni ngenteni ono barang rusak lah intine. Tapi yang murah sih.
Katanya Pak Cipto dari HK itu ada 20 widget ya yang harus diklik.
Oh iya Pak jaga kata sing widget-widget itu.
Iya HK.
Hmm, ya ya udah
Ah,
makanya kan sampean nek katanya Mas Iwo untuk level yang sekarang tuh nggak sebagian besar sampean bisa. Maksudnya artinya kan widget biasa kan kayak widget kayak Shopify kayak apa. Aku ya bilang
Halo
bisa
halo
kok.
Zani.
Nah,
Zani kan.
ah,
oh,
Hi guys. Sorry to keep you guys
halo,
waiting.
halo. I guess.
Mm.
Ya, oke.
So do you guys have any questions so far?
So far
So
so good. So far so good.
so far so good. Okay. Then I will continue on to the next widget. So these are like very basic fees, right? So let's say if we want to add a new image, right? Let's try this image. Right. So again, these are the predefined ones, right? Sitefinity, image fees, and then you've got some of the attributes that you can modify. This one later on, you guys can read more if you want to. Okay. So here we add new property. Okay. So for this one, right, you need to implement a specific methods. So this is the how to get the image manually from the Sitefinity backend.
Ah, Anju, lalu gaya lagi ada juga masih bawah.
So what we are doing here, right, is basically right when we use this kind of manual CSHTML, right, with all the front-end framework, right, with JavaScript and AngularJS and things like that, right, that the values that return from here, right, they are not the objects, right? They are the JSON values like IDs and tags and things like that. So this one returns you the ID of the image that you selected. So in the controller, right, we need to get the actual image URL according to
ID.
the ID from the widget designer. Yeah. Okay, wait, let me.
Lama. Kami.
Okay, so this one, let's try this first.
Kwangin.
So right now, right, it's not working, right? There's another thing that we need to take care of. Okay, let me show you. So there is also a JSON file that we need to create for the settings. Okay, can you guys give me one minute? Hi. Hello, guys.
Halo, halo.
Sorry again. Yeah, sorry again to keep you guys waiting. Okay. Where are we? Oh, yeah. There's also a JSON files, right? The settings. Okay, let me show you. So we need to add a JSON file. I mean, the naming convention, right, is the same as the CSHTML one. So like this one, right? So for this one, we need to add the fields. So let's say, right, the components that you need. So dynamic image selector, HTML fields, and things like that here. You need to right. So this JSON file, right? So this is our widget, right? So this one and this one. So we need to add all the components that we use in this widget. Okay.
No, igual igual a lo igual igual. Y de la última vez.
Y usted ganarlo. Y vuelve más, y después vuelve más, y nada más. Oye, nada.
Let me just compile it again. It's only 12 p.m. there, right? For you guys. Is it?
Yes, right.
Oh, okay. So what time do you guys usually go for lunch? Is it lunchtime already?
Yeah, actually, yes. But it's okay.
Oh, okay.
You can continue.
Okay. Okay. Because I thought you guys go to lunch at 1 p.m. Right? So you can select image. Yeah, things like that. Then click save. So on the front end, right? So this one, right? This is showing the UI, right? So let's say if you want to show the image itself, then we can do it like, right? src equal da, 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 right? So it's very big. So yeah, so something like this, right? So this is for the image field, right? So I believe, do you guys have the requirements? I believe you guys will. Mm, du- 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 du. Yeah. So have you guys seen this one before?
Yes, already.
Yeah. So here, right? So for example, these fields, right? Right, these fields, right? We can create like this, right? All these fields, things like that. All these fields, yeah. Right. And another thing is, so have you guys familiar with the dynamic module here? I believe Yaya will be already familiar with this one because he created this one. So for the rest of you guys, have you guys tried this dynamic module?
Yeah, this is Deepa and Rivo also create this one.
Okay, so this is when we create our own custom fields and custom objects and custom types, right? So for example, right here, you have your own custom news with your custom fields, right? Then we can even add a selector here. Okay, so this is, yeah, it's called custom content type. So all the content type, right, we can create our own selector field. So this is also a new field, right? A list selector field. And then here, okay, let me show you. You have to bind these properties, right? It's a little bit more complicated. All right. Okay, let me show you guys. Okay. So first you need to define something like this. So this is just like drop down, right? This is the IDs that will be returned from the widget designer to our controller, so we can use it to show on the front end. So this is the type, right? Right? That we want to be able to show on the widget designer. So do you guys know where we can get this value? So from here, right? So this is the type of your custom dynamic module, right? So we add this, and then so from here, right, we already add this. Okay. Okay. So this is the type, right? This is the type, right? This is the type, right? And then this is the selected IDs, right? Selected IDs. So this one corresponds to this one. Where is it? Oh, yeah, correct. So maybe I'll show you guys how to use this one. So example. So maybe I'll show you guys using the one that I already prepared, right? So it's a lot faster. So here you can see. This one, right? So you can select all the items here, right? That you can change, you can rearrange everything, right? And then it will show you all the IDs. It will show here, publish, right? So these are the news ID that you selected here, right? But you still needs to get the news items to read all the news properties. So for example, right, you can refer to here to get the news by news ID, right? So you get the news by news ID, right? This one, and then you got the item, right? So this is the method that we use the custom widget designer, right? Another thing I want to show you guys is this one. So for this one, okay, this one, we are using the first method, right? So here, right, it's different. See, it has a lot more options that you can directly create, right? You can directly create new items like new news, right? Or you can directly edit the existing news here, right? Right? And you can also select multiple things, right? And then it is showing here. So these are the news items that you select from here. Right? Title, summary, and then all the URL, see title, summary, all the images, URL, things like that. Right? So these items here, right? They comes from here, right? So for example, right, celebrate Chinese New Year. Click here. Right. So all those summaries and all those images here, right? So here are the items, right? So there's two ways that you can do it, right? So this, like this one. So this doesn't have the custom widget designer files, Node.js, nothing, right? This is just this one, right? This is just this one. Right, so this is this one. So we just use like these, right? Like these. So we just need this. And then on the back end, right? You've got the news items like this. So these are the news items already, right? So you got all the properties, all your images, things like that, right? And then from here, right? So this is how you show all the news details, right? So why I'm showing is this, right? So this one is So for example, this one, right? So each card, right? Each card it has different properties, right? So this one, you can select your cards here. So we need to create something like this, right? We need to create our own custom module, right? Right, custom modules. It will be like cards, right? So each card will have its own, right? The properties like heading, icon, size, things like that, right? Subheadings, text, things like that, right? And then from here, right, we can select the item, the card, and we can add new card, right? And then we can modify existing card as well, right? So these are the two methods. And I did some research, right? And the interesting thing is this method, right? That the first one that I show you guys, right? This one without the designer view, right? This is more advanced. This is the latest approach. This is the latest one. It only is available on Sitefinity 13, version 13, starting from Sitefinity version 13. So like 10, 11, 12, right? You cannot use this one. You have to create your own designer view and JSONs and AngularJS and things like that. So for most of the cases, right, I recommend using this approach. So do you guys have any like questions? I think the latest part is a little bit complicated.
So
Hmm.
you recommend to use the latest approach, right, for the new Sitefinity version?
Correct. Because here, right, so I will show you. So this is the dynamic content selector, right? So in this
Content.
case, the dynamic content is the custom news, left news, right? So this is the one we created using the attributes and things like that, right? So compare this to this one. So this is using the widget designer, right? It's a little more cramped up, right? It's smaller. And then, so for this one, see, you cannot modify directly, right? You're gonna modify it directly, right? You
Yeah.
click and nothing happens. And then you cannot even add new items here, right? You can only select, right? What happens if you want to change something, right? Then you have to close this, you have to close this, right? And then you have to go back here, and then you have to go here, and then you have to modify it here, right? So this is the old method that we use. So for even for the batcher coffee that I showed you earlier, right? We're using, I think, 11 or 12 Sitefinity version. So right then when we did that project, right, we cannot use something like this. So we have to use the designer. So the client did, right? What the client is, I mean, in terms of UI and UX, right? It's not like very straightforward, not streamlined. So they have to come here to manage all the things, and then you have to go back in here, right? And then you can only select here, right? So what Sitefinity did is they moved to ASP.NET Core, right? So with ASP.NET Core comes all these kinds of attributes that they can set, right? Because everything is done in the backend. They generated all the things in the backend. We just only need to specify what we want here. So everything is already done by Sitefinity in the backend. So I believe in terms of user experience, right? This is, see, this one is a lot better, right?
Yeah.
This one is a lot
More
better.
dynamic and
Yeah.
more efficient for the content writer.
Yeah, that's correct. So here, right, you can just go inside, right? And then you modify, and then you can save, right? And then just close this. And then if you want to add new things, you can just create new things like that. Because the problem with this one is using latest ASP.NET Core and its own Sitefinity integration, right? So it's very streamlined in terms of UI and UX. And only advantage is, I would say, is that if you know JavaScript and specifically the AngularJS framework, right? Then you can do a lot of manual bindings and manual events and things like that. Because this one, right, it returns only the IDs, right? Like I said, it returns only the IDs as the JavaScript object. Because here, right, you can see that. So here, right, you can if you are like very good with JavaScript and AngularJS, right, you can play around with here a lot. That's the only advantage I would say for this designer thing. So most of the scenarios, right, even for all these items, right, so all of these widgets, right, we can use just this one. This one should be fine. We don't need to use the widget designer. Yeah, it should be fine. So maybe, right, when you guys do these widgets, right, I will also talk with you guys. And I will also, like, if you guys have any questions or any roadblocks or things like that, right, just let me know. Then I will talk together with you guys for these items. So you can get the general idea, right? Yeah, so any more questions? I believe you guys are also hungry, right? Because of the lunch time. And if you have like any questions, then you guys can just DM me as well, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe we will end this section here. Okay. And thanks a lot for your time, and sorry for the delay and very long section.
It's
No,
okay.
it's okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks guys. Then bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Zani.
Thanks, sir. Bye-bye.